It's the Prez, Lawrence Presman from WagerTalk.com. I'm super pumped. I got Heather Baxendale on with us, and today, my friends, is the Game of Thrones betting preview show. Yes, you can make bets. We're going to be using the lines given to us from Pinnacle, and we're going to talk Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones only. But first, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a very good friend of Johnny Detroit, the esteemed operator of WagerTalk.com. And I know you do a lot of YouTube videos, vlogging, blogging, Snapchatting, Instaring, Tweetering, and all these other things that a man of my age doesn't seem to actually get. Tell us about yourself, where we can find you, and what you do.
I've been, movie podcasting for, probably close to 13, 14 years now. It's been a long time. We started, and still people don't know what podcasts are.
I know. I listen to the ESPN 30 for 30 podcasts all the time when I work out. I'm actually done. I've gone through the entire series. So I do know what podcasts are.
Well, most people still ask me, my own father included, so you're on the radio?
No. So what's the name of your podcasts? Where do we find them? What do you talk about?
We're the Man I Love Films podcast. You can find us at Milkcast on Podomatic.com. We're also on iTunes. We've been on a little bit of a break, a hiatus. We take them from time to time. We've been around for over 10 years now, so we can do what we want. But you can check out my website too. It's it's a health and fitness and whatever I want blog. It's Headertime.com. So you can find me there too.
Heathertime.com. And I'm big into health and fitness myself. I go to the gym like a crazy lunatic. And starting next week, Heather, I'm doing 2-a-days. I'm going to start yoga. Never done it before. My mother is yoga. I mean, she's been teaching yoga for 50 years. She goes to India to ashrams where she's not allowed to talk and does yoga. I always thought it was really stupid, but as I'm aging, I really need a little bit more flexibility and mobility, especially in the shoulder area. So yoga starts on Monday for me. I'll be doing it at 10:30 a.m. every Monday. I am doing hot yoga, though, because I want to sweat. And then the gym at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. So I'm ludicrous. I just have a bread and chocolate issue.
You know what? That's why you go to the gym. I always tell people I run marathons so I can eat whatever I want. It drives me crazy, but it's true.
Yeah,
I like lots of protein and I love carbs. So
I was an incredible runner way back when, and I tried to run again recently after about 25 years of not running. I made it about 800 meters.
It's hard to start over.
It was my knees. Honestly, I was done for 3 days.
Oh.
Yeah, so running out the window. I'm back lifting, and I'm going to start yoga. Anyway, guys, let's get into the show. Heather, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about my theory, how I feel it will end. I'm just going to give you the whole lowdown. Uninterrupted.
I'll do my best.
And then you can laugh at me and tell me how wrong I am. And then we will go through the bets. First, I must tell all listeners, I have only watched the shows. Heather has watched the shows and read the books. She is much more knowledgeable than I am on Game of Thrones and probably more right than I will be. With that said, I am going to be betting my own money on my own thoughts. And I don't know if you know this, Heather, although it has, some of the stuff has been leaked.
Yeah,
I refuse. You're not allowed to mention any leaks. The maximum bet you can make in Game of Thrones is around $500. If I know who is going to be on the throne, I can bet 500 and win 500, and I can ruin the season. I am not prepared to ruin the season for $500.
No.
So If you want to know who wins the throne, etc., and the leaked info, Kelly knows it, Carm knows it, hook them up through their Twitter accounts. But I'm literally giving you the information from my brain. So is Heather, and we are not using any of the leaked information to help, which I don't know. I
won't listen to it. I don't want to ruin for me. I've been waiting years and years and years and years for this. I will not have it spoiled.
And the interesting thing for you, Heather, is that, the books haven't ended. So this is going to be news to you as well. I mean, you're finally past the books.
It's exciting. The last 2 seasons have had very minimal things that were in the books. So it was the first time that I've sat around I watch with my brother and my husband since season 2. I've actually stopped watching their faces to see their reactions and have been with them and experiencing it together. It makes it way more fun.
Oh, yeah. 6 episodes, all of them over an hour long. I'm sure it'll probably cost $1 billion to film this season. The show has changed television, and it is right there with Billions as my favorite show. Very different types of show, but Billions is mwah. I don't know if you watch that show, but that's must watch.
I just had that recommended to me by 2 people in the last week. You're the 3rd one. So that's on the top of my to-do list. It's an Amazon Prime one, isn't it?
No. It's a Showtime show with Damian Lewis, who was Brody in Homeland, and Paul Giamatti. The acting, I'll tell you, the acting in Billions is second to none. It's much easier for Jon Snow, who, by the way, is a terrible actor, but it's much easier to play a character from like the, fantasy land of XYZ with an outfit and a fake accent than it is to play like a New Yorker when you're a New Yorker. Nothing acting-wise is better than Billions, but Game of Thrones is my favorite show. Let's get to it. What I'm going to do, Heather, is I'm going to tell you how I think it's going to end for the main characters. I don't know how it's going to end for Davos. I don't know the eunuch. I don't know how it's going to end for the eunuch. I'm going to stick to the core.
Okay.
So with that said, I'm going to jump to episode 5. What we've seen from the producers of the show is real drama in the second last episode of every season. We had the Red Wedding, we had the battle, we had the brother battle, the wall battle. It's always been in the second last episode. And what I think these guys are really trying to do is to create an incredible amount of shock value in the second last episode. What we've seen with the author of Game of Thrones is that he has no issue killing off main characters, and also is not a happy ending kind of a guy, although we don't know that to be the case. But there was no happy ending for Ned, there was no happy ending for Robb, and on and on and on. So let's jump to episode 5. Episode 5 is going to end in the last 10 minutes with, we have a hero, a female hero of the show, Daenerys, if you will, the mother of dragons, as your shirt says. And I think everything in the show has been, if you look at the show and you say, who are the 2 core characters that drive the storyline? It's Jon Snow and Daenerys. So if you look at those 2 as our heroes, they have to have counterparts. Daenerys' counterpart is Cersei. And Jon Snow's counterpart is the Night Walker, the king. So with that said, the show will end, episode 5 will shock the world with Cersei killing Daenerys. It feels right to me. I also believe the Night Walker will kill Jon Snow. And both our heroes in the second last season will be killed by the bad guys. The shock value of that is enormous. It's immense. The world will be abuzz. Everybody thinks it's going to be one of those 2 people who end up on the throne. They will be dead come episode 6. Now let's jump to episode 6. So now we have to finish the character arcs for the characters. Well, Daenerys' character arc is finished. We've killed her off. Cersei killed her. Jon Snow's character arc is finished. We've killed him off. The king is finished. The Night Walker has finished him. Cersei has to die. And there's only one person who could kill Cersei. Who would you think I would say that would be?
Well, it would be one of the little brothers.
Jaime.
You believe it's Jaime?
It has to be Jaime.
I think
Episode 1 started with the two of them fucking and pushing Bram off the cliff. It's how he became crippled, all his visions, blah, 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 blah. It was a center point of the show. All the kings to date have been their children. All their children are now dead. And Jaime, at the end of last season, left, finally. They've also had a very interesting character arc with Jaime, and that is, minus his love for his sister, he's a good guy, and he's a good person. And I think his character arc needs to end at a high note and allow the taste of Daenerys dying to Cersei, that it needs to be avenged, and it needs to be avenged by him. So Cersei kills Daenerys in episode 5. Jaime kills Cersei in episode 6. Now we got to get to the Night Walker. Who kills him? You can take a stab, and then I'll give you my thought.
Who kills him?
Yeah. Now that he's killed Jon Snow, according to me.
I'm with you on the Jon Snow, with him killing Jon Snow. I'm not sure if he is going to die in the battle with Jon Snow, or perhaps it's going to come down to him and Bran in some kind of way. I feel like there's some connection there too. But Bran can't do anything because he's the three-eyed raven.
Well, they have said they have said there's going to be a lot of wolves in this final season, and
I heard that too.
And Bran does control one of those wolves, if not all of them, if he wants. With that said, Bran is a problem.
Ghost play into it.
Bran,
we could have Ghost.
Yep. Sorry, go on.
A ghost could come into play into it too, and that's the thing that they haven't alluded to on the show, was that Jon can warg also. Yeah. So he could slip into Ghost after he's dead and control Ghost.
Well, they did kind of allude to it when he died, and they finally brought Ghost back after missing him for 3 years. I would be very disappointed if there's ghosts and morguing. Just end the show in some realm of normality, please. The person who kills the Night Walker is the main hero of this show, and clearly the person who saves the world. Arya.
Oh, that would be great. Now that's the ending I would love.
But it makes the most sense. Bran just gave Arya a knife that can kill the White Walker. Arya, once Jon Snow is dead, can morph into Jon Snow through the face transformation, therefore becoming Jon Snow and confusing the crap out of the Night Walker. Arya has incredible powers in that regard. She's also a person that story arc has become bigger and bigger, more central to the show, and has led in a direction. We saw her training, right? There's nobody else we've seen training. We don't see the Mountain training, or whoever the Mountain's brother is. I've gone blank. The Hound training. We have seen Arya go from, in the first season, she was training with the sword. In the 4th season, she was learning how to transfer her face. Everything seems to be directed towards Arya being the hero of the show. So now we have Cersei killing Daenerys, Jaime killing Cersei. That arc is done. The Night Walker killing Jon Snow, Arya killing the Night Walker, those arcs are done. That leaves the question on who will sit on the throne at the end. And the answer to that question is the single most important character in Game of Thrones, the character that has driven the narration, if you will, of this show. He's really little, and he is an incredible actor. And they have already alluded to the fact that it might be, and you would know better than me from the books, he might actually be the rightful heir to the throne, being a Targaryen and being the older sibling of the Targaryens. That's how the show ends. Jaime then comes back and ends the show as the hand to the king, his brother, fixing their relationship and putting Jaime in the same place as he was when he killed the King Targaryen. That's how I think the show ends. Those are my thoughts. Feel free to add to it, change it, give me your thoughts, and then we'll go through some bets.
I think you're actually on to quite a few things right there. Specifically with Arya, that was one that I've been sitting here in my mind trying to figure out exactly where she plays in. She's not a soldier per se; she's an assassin. So
right, and she doesn't want the throne.
No,
an assassin
she's not interested
with no
in
ambition.
None. And that's one of the things that I think is interesting too with people that are picking certain people to be on the throne. I'm like, it's not who you want or who you like; it's who would fit there. And it's also interesting that you mentioned Tyrion. My big thing if he is number one Targaryen, which I think there's still a good chance of that. But also, I've said this since I read the books. I think every author, whether they do it subconsciously or not, they have a character that they create that is their voice. And I feel like Tyrion has been George R. R. Martin's voice.
That's what I said. He's like the narrator. He's everywhere.
Years.
He's
when he's on trial and he sits there and just rips everybody to shreds, I'm like, that was us. That was for us. That was George R. R. Martin right there.
But if you go through Tyrion's progression, I mean, he's the one that goes to find Daenerys. He's the one that sets up Jon Snow. He's the one that causes issues between Jaime and Cersei. He's the one that kills his father. He's the one that advises everybody on strategy. He's the one that came up with the liquid in the water that saved King's Landing. You know, every point all the way through, he's the one that was an alcoholic that isn't an alcoholic anymore. He's the one that loved and lost his love. Everything through the series has led him to be the most appropriate king.
He would do it best. And he's not just ruled. I mean, he's ruled as the hand in Westeros already. And he did a very good job of it. He's also done it in Essos. He came in a country where he didn't even speak the language well and started fixing things. And already, I mean, he was barely there and he did so much already. I think hands down, he would be the best ruler. That would be my ending with him on the throne. I think that's probably one of the plausible ones. I have a couple little addendums too. And this might also be the Night King's go-to. We all know, I think at this point, I wouldn't call it a spoiler, that the Battle of Winterfell is the third episode.
Yep.
Okay, so that means that either everybody gets massacred there and then the Whites come down and Cersei has to deal with that. Well, I already think Cersei, like you, is going to triumph here. Jon Snow's toast. Dany is a 50-50 for me. Jon Snow's toast. If the Whites go down, or if everybody else comes down to battle, we already know she's the Mad Queen. And thanks to Jon Snow and Davos, she knows that fire kills the Whites. I think she's going to light up and blow up the whole bloody city. I think she's going to kill everyone if they're alive or kill everyone if they're dead, because the fire will kill them. And I think she's going to get the heck out of Dodge and go back to Casterly Rock. She hates King's Landing. She doesn't have her kids. She doesn't have Jaime. She has nothing to connect herself to humanity anymore. And she's driven by power and vengeance, and that's it. I think she's going to murder everybody. And also, in the House of the Undying, when Dany goes through and sees the Iron Throne, it's all burnt. That doesn't necessarily have to be from a dragon.
Right.
That could be from Cersei going, kaboom. So,
and she doesn't have Jaime to balance her either, right? I mean, she's getting no advice at all.
Which is also where I think the ending might come to, where she goes to Casterly Rock and Jaime survives somehow or isn't in the city. And I think Jaime ultimately will come down and do her in. But I see that as like maybe the last episode, like years down the road where he finds her and finally chokes her to death.
I don't think he's going to choke her to death. I think he's going to fuck her to death. But anyway, that
would be great.
That's a that's a different story. Where I am really confused on my theories, where I feel like I'm missing something, and maybe you could talk to this, is Bram. I'm lost. I mean, he wasn't in season 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, he literally just disappeared. I don't understand his character, and I don't understand where it's going to end. I actually hope he just dies in episode 1 and we can move on.
I think it's been kind of a joke. It's one of the things that surprises me most with the fan theories, because if you've watched the show and if you've read the books, and you don't have to read the books because it's just as lost. I mean, the chapters with him are just meandering. They really are. They're dull, and they're important, so you want to focus on them and try and grasp something or find something in there, but it's just blah, blah, blah. I don't understand these fan theories about him sitting on the Iron Throne.
I don't get it either. I
understand the ones with him being the Night King. None of them make any sense. Even if you involve a time paradox, which I fucking love time paradoxes, it still doesn't make any sense. He'd have to live and exist in a human body and be born if he was Brandon the Builder.
Yeah, 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, he's going back and he's watching, and he can go into bodies for a time being, but he can't be born and live as another human. And I think the Night King is a Stark for sure. But Bran, I don't really see where he fits in. He's not going to rule. He already turned down Winterfell. So,
well, and speaking of Winterfell, the one person we haven't spoken about, the weakest character in the entire show, redhead lady,
Sansa, the whiner.
Yeah, she doesn't. I won't even say her name. She ends up becoming the ruler of Winterfell, and that'll end her.
She's going to be the Lady of Winterfell.
Yeah,
which she's doing okay at right now. So, providing she doesn't, start getting torn off into some other direction again with some other idiot who tells her to listen to her. I have no idea how she's still alive.
Yeah, so let's get into some bets. We were just talking about Bram, and Pinnacle has some bets up. Who will sit on the Iron Throne at the end? Bram is the favorite here.
Weird.
Bram is plus 205. Now, I'm putting this up on Facebook, so there are going to be people watching this show that aren't familiar with betting. Plus 205 means that if you bet $100, you win 205. Whereas Tyrion is plus 700. So if you bet $100 on Tyrion, you win 700. If you bet $100 on Bram, you win 200. Daenerys is plus 470. Jon Snow is the second favorite at plus 287. There is no chance that Jon Snow ends up on the throne.
Nope.
It just cannot happen. And then you have like Gendry at plus 424.
Now, that one I think is interesting because
he could be the rightful heir.
He does. He has the bloodline. He's been in the story since the first season, and there's constant going back to him. And we don't revisit characters like that unless there's some level of importance. We've seen that he's a great warrior. We don't know if he's a leader, though. But it's interesting, and I don't think it's impossible. I wouldn't count that one out. It's a weird one, but it's not entirely off the realm of possibility at this point.
I'm not buying it.
I don't think so, but again, it's one that at least makes some level of sense. It makes more sense than Jon or Bran to me.
Yeah, so you go through this year and you have, Jaime Lannister at plus 2,000, which means if you bet $100, you can win 2,000. Sansa at plus 646. Arya at plus 1,800. I mean, to me, I look down this list and, Jorah, Brienne, like Sandor, like I mean, obviously every character is in here, including Yara Greyjoy, which, I mean, is absurd. Hot Pie is at 12,000 to 1.
They included Peter Baelish. She's dead.
Yeah. Well, it is Game of Thrones. And
yes,
I really love Peter Baelish.
He's a fantastic character.
Yeah, he was the best character in the show, from my perspective. As I said, I am taking Tyrion at plus 700, $100 to win $700 that Tyrion ends up on the throne. You looked at these odds. Did anything jump out at you as a worthy bet?
I think a safe bet is Dany. I still think there's a chance that something's going to happen. And the reason I think that we might get that little happy ending is because the last season or two, George R.R. Martin hasn't had his hands in everything. And D&D have been a little bit more friendly and soft with some of the main characters. So I think there's a possibility. I think that's a safer bet. I think Gendry's an interesting bet, but I'm with you with Tyrion. I think Tyrion is probably the best way to go. If he's really a Targaryen, I think I'd put all my money
But I
on
don't
him.
even know if that is entirely relevant. I mean, I think if he is a Targaryen, it helps. But
I feel like it is, and I think I get that feeling from reading the books too.
Yeah, but we know Gendry's not a Targaryen.
But he comes from the
Baratheon
line, and there is some Targaryen blood somehow in that line because Robert Baratheon had it. So even if he's a bastard, he still has some of that claim. It's a smaller one, obviously, but it's not improbable. These are just other factors that could come into play and slap us in the face, and as the show often does, catches us completely off guard, and we have to rewind and go see what we missed.
So now we look at characters to die first. Daenerys is at plus 178, which means if you bet $100, you would win 178 if she dies first. And Cersei is minus 272, which means you have to bet $272 to win 100 if it's Cersei. These lines are skewed completely. I've already given you my thoughts. Not only do I think Daenerys dies before Cersei, I think she dies because of Cersei. I love this bet. I am taking Daenerys to die first at plus 178.
I would too. Cersei's, regardless of anything, Cersei's going to be there to the end. She's been underestimated by everyone from the beginning, and she's going to probably be in the last episode before she dies.
The next bet I want to discuss is, again, characters to die first, Jon Snow or Bran. I don't know. I mean, I know Jon Snow is going to die. I don't know if Bran is going to die.
I don't either. That one I would go with Jon Snow just by the fact of that it's a sure bet that he's going to die. It's questionable whether Bran will or not.
Yeah, but the problem here is it's minus 300, which means you have to bet $300 to win 100 on Jon Snow dying. I think that's a layoff bet myself because there's two factors in play here, and that is there is a chance he doesn't die and we're wrong. And there's a chance that Bran dies before him, and we would be wrong. So I don't think the value there is there for you to actually make that bet. But I do agree with you. Jon Snow should die before Bran. You're just paying too much money to make that bet. The next one is characters to die first, Tyrion or Jaime. You got Tyrion at plus 275. Now, look, we already discussed the fact that we think he's going to be the king, which means he won't die. The problem I have here is I don't think Jaime is going to die either. So I believe both of them will be standing at the end of Game of Thrones and probably the last scene, actually, in Game of Thrones.
Still, if I was going to pick one or the other, I would pick Tyrion to survive over Jaime.
Yeah, but I agree with you. You're paying 500 to you're paying 5 to 1 that Jaime dies first. You can't put $500 to win $100 when Jaime might even live.
Jaime's character is too important, has been too important to the hierarchy of all of this to make that kind of bet that he's going to die. When I think he's probably going to be one of the, if nothing else, he'll be one of the final. I wouldn't make that bet.
Right, now we have the Greyjoys. First to die, Theon and Euron. Well, one can argue Theon died.
Yeah, he's Reek.
He did. There was a little bit of a resurrection towards the end of last year when he did help Sansa make her escape. I don't know how to bet these. you've got Sender versus Gregor, Melisandre versus Davos, Gilly versus Hot Pie.
Oh, some of these. Oh, Gilly versus Hot Pie. That's just silly. I think Sander versus the Mountain. I think he's going to kill the Mountain, but I think he's going to die killing him. I think that's going to be a dual death.
Oh, a little Rocky too.
Yeah. There you go. I think that's the way that one's going to go. I think it's going to have to be bittersweet. What was that? And I actually think Euron's going to go before Theon. I think that it's going to be, or, I wouldn't even do that one because I feel like maybe he's off to go save his sister. He might die and redeem himself. That would be the perfect redemption for Theon, to die saving his sister, and she kills Euron. So I think Theon's going to die before Euron. I'm changing what I was thinking.
You know what? That
would be poetic.
That makes a ton of sense, actually. And Theon is plus 122. He is the dog in that fight. Both literally and from a gambling perspective. Really literally, actually. That was a good one, Lawrence. Can you see that picture?
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Do you know who that is?
That's the Mountain. And that's his wife, isn't it?
No, that's my woman.
That's your wife. Oh, well, congratulations.
And she's not my wife. She's my girlfriend, but she didn't stop talking about her meeting with the Mountain. She is amazing, though, my woman. Ridiculously awesome. But yeah, that is the Mountain. We saw him in Tel Aviv this summer. 480 pounds of pure muscle, world's strongest man 2 years in a row, and truly one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Just amazing.
They say he's fantastic. Yeah. He's a big giant teddy bear.
Yeah, we actually did meet his woman. She's Canadian, and she was the same size as my Vivian, and we were looking at each other going like, how do you think he is in bed? I mean, any woman would be a spinner.
That would be terrifying. I mean, I'm up for a challenge, but that would be relatively intimidating.
480 all muscle? Yeah, it's insane. Heather,
every workout would be, or every time would be a workout. It would be great.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, fair enough. I mean, listen, he's not my cup of tea, largely because, well, he's a male. But I get it. Heather, I can't thank you enough. This was so much fun. And yes. I'm so excited for the season to start. And it's going to be the first season that I watch episode by episode. Normally, I back them up because I can't physically handle waiting. But I don't think you're going to be able to do that this year. I think it's going to be all over the media, all over social media. And I don't want to miss. I don't want to know anything. So Sunday night.
So excited! I can't think about anything else. Literally, I can't talk about anything else. Everyone's sick of talking to me.
Oh wait, we have a guest appearance. We were just talking about you.
Oh, yeah. Is this the beautiful girlfriend?
This is my beautiful girlfriend, but she's taking her. We just showed a picture of you in the mountain.
Me in the mountain.
Yes, on
How much I tower over him.
You do tower over him, yes.
I'm sure he's very intimidated.
She's not going to be making an appearance, but she's here. Yay!
It's hailing outside in April. Hey! It is hailing outside in April. I don't understand what is going on.
Well, I should end your statement and the show with, clearly winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Winter's here. Winter is still here.
That it is. Heather, thank you so much. What an awesome show. It'll be up on our WagerTalk channel at YouTube, and I'll also put it on Facebook. Enjoy the final season of probably the greatest TV show, movie, maybe not song because it wasn't done by Pink Floyd, but TV show or movie ever created.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Be well and take care.